My first son was born on May 18, 1970, and I had major medical difficulties that resulted in a serious postpartum hemorrhage. Several blood transfusions were administered to me. I had an out-of-body experience in which I observed my son's birth and then heard the doctor inform my husband that they could rescue the baby, but not myself. I began yelling at them from my vantage point at the top of the ceiling that I was not dead, but they couldn't understand what I was saying. I was scared. Then I had to attend my own funeral and burial. Because I wasn't dead, it was terrifying. Then everything became completely black. It took 3 days for me to be able to converse and respond consciously to my surroundings. As a result, I was scared of death. I concluded that this horrible experience was caused by drugs. It took me years to recover from it. Let's go back to July 1979. I started bleeding again 10 days after giving birth to my fourth child. My husband rushed me to the hospital, where I needed several additional blood transfusions, as well as DNC surgery to halt the bleeding. I felt well when I awoke in the recovery area. With encouragement, my husband returned to work, promising to return in a few hours and take me home. I nodded off, only to be startled awake when my father entered the room. He lived 90 miles away, so his visit came as a pleasant surprise. I felt a tremor pass through my body when he bent down to kiss me. Simply jitters, I reasoned. But then, my teeth began to rattle, and I began to have uncontrollable spasms. I was on fire. My father bolted from the room to seek assistance. Medical professionals rushed into the room. A plastic sheet was draped over my body, and then buckets of ice were dumped on me. Every particle of ice felt like a knife stabbing my burning body. I was in excruciating pain. My doctor then appeared. I overheard the nurse remark that I couldn't obtain a pulse, that her temperature was over 106, and that her organs were shutting down. I suddenly felt the hemorrhage again. "I'm bleeding again," I remarked, looking up on my doctor. "No," he replied. "You're allergic to the blood transfusions you got." "No," I thought. "He doesn't know. I'm bleeding. I'm dying, and my spirit is escaping." I was abruptly overcome with grief. I was unhappy to be dying without saying anything. "I love you," I say to my spouse and children, or to my father, who's standing immediately outside the door. Then I passed away. The absence of discomfort was the first thing I noticed. What a relief. Then I became conscious of the darkness. I felt as if I were in a region of incredible energy, a vast black void, but I was not afraid. The emptiness kept me calm and at peace. I knew I'd died to the world, yet I hadn't lost consciousness for a single second. I was still alive, and I was still me. Then I was with him, surrounded by a vast brightness and unfathomable love. There, I was surrounded by joy, bliss, and grace. He talked to me and told me that it was not my time and that I needed to return to my body to finish my life's work. I didn't respond to this statement, instead asking him how he did it. He spoke to me without using words or using his voice, and yet I clearly heard and comprehended every unspoken word. He told me that I was in a new place, one where communication was solely through the language of love. Everyone spoke heart to heart and soul to soul here. Thus, there was never any misunderstanding. When I was on Earth and employed the spoken word, there was often significant confusion between what I believed I said and what my listener heard. They were frequently diametrically opposed. He then informed me that it was not my time, and that I needed to return to my body and resume my life on Earth. Then I reminded him that he had promised me free agency, and that I had chosen to exercise that choice in order to stay with him. He chuckled heartily at my obstinacy, saying, "Yes, Laura. I would expect you to plead for your own point. Of course, the final decision will be yours. But first, allow me to demonstrate certain things." I was overcome with awe and wonder. He recognized me. Everything about me has already been revealed. I was a part of his creation, and the spark of God was in me. It couldn't be otherwise. He was all wisdom, All love, and I was a part of it all. In front of me was a spotless, lovely, white gleaming beach. On that beach, I noticed my 3 oldest sons sitting together. I saw many aspects of their future life as individuals. I've seen their trials and struggles. I watched how my death would exasperate their difficulties. Grief, loneliness, and wrath seemed to frequently accompany them. Then I realized how different I would be in their lives as a mother. Because of my affection for them, their paths were lighted. But I couldn't bear the thought of abandoning them. But I couldn't bear the thought of abandoning him, of being away from his love. So I showed him the beach, each and every particle of sand, and how there were millions of them. Surely, one single grain of sand in the entire universe would not be so overlooked. They also had a father, a great caring father, to look after them and teach them, to look after them and love them. Also, at that point, I knew that time was different and didn't really matter. After all, how does a mortal comprehend eternal eternity or no end? Life may appear to be long, difficult, and depressing, but it was really just a flash, the size of one grain of sand on that enormous beach. He returned my attention to the shore, explaining, "Take another look at the beach, and each and every grain of sand. Take note of how each grain is in contact with every other grain. There would be no beach if every single grain of sand chose to detach itself. I got it on the levels right away. Nobody could ever take my place. In truth, no one could ever be replaced. Everyone is responsible for their own section of the beach." It suddenly occurred to me that I had only seen 3 of my sons' lives. "Where is my baby gone?" I inquired. "Why is he being kept apart from his brothers?" "He's younger. He'll be raised differently," the response said. "That can't be," I exclaimed. "That would not be tolerated by his father. I was told that his father will not be around him for long, and that he will not have the same influence on him as he does on your other sons." At this time, I observed a future event in my husband's life, an accident in which he would die. I didn't bring this recollection back with me, but it lingered in the back of my mind. 4 years later, while my husband lay dying, I remembered it vividly. It was as if when I was concentrating on him, it was all I could think about. However, when I changed my concentration, such as on the beach, I saw a lot more. My life flashed before me. I needed to do a life audit. When it ended, my head was bowed in shame, because he had witnessed it as well. Many of my behaviors made me unhappy. Then, in wonder, I asked, "How can you still love me so totally after witnessing my countless sins?" "You are a child of God," he explained. "And God is love, and he sees you solely as love." To grasp this, I needed to forgive myself and see that I was a part of divine love. This was made possible by the atonement. It's difficult to put into words. I just know that I recall nothing from my life review. Only the memory of having won, and the love remains. My surroundings were suddenly brought into sharp focus as I noticed a flower, a gorgeous blossom. It looked like a gorgeous Gerber daisy, shining in brilliant orange hues. It was alive and well, and it adored me. I turned back to him in amazement and adoration, screaming, "This blossom loves me. I can sense it." "Everything was made in love for you," he continued. Then I saw and felt everything. It was me and I was it. The firmament with vibrant and loving colors, breathtaking colors of light and water, each drop vibrant and loving. No words. No words. It was finally time to go, but I had one last question. Why me? What made me so special that this could happen to me? I wondered. "Nothing," he responded. "Love falls equally on everyone. Everyone is special. This was simply something you required to complete your chosen life objective." I was almost ready to return, but I needed to have a promise that I would see him soon. I felt his immense joy, his tremendous love for me, and his total knowing of me once more, because there's no other option. We're all returning. He then reminded me that the only thing I'd be able to carry back with me was the love I'd given away. The entire experience occurred at a different level of consciousness, from the moment I left my body and was told it was not my time and that I needed to return.